Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It, Columbia's hottest podcast. We have a great show for you today. We have the organizers of Columbia Food and Wine Festival. We have Lindsay, Conine, and then we also have Mike, the wine guy. He actually has an ID that says Mike, the wine guy, too. And we talk about all things about the Columbia Food and Wine Festival, which really supports all the Columbia businesses and the restaurants. And we're really big, obviously, on getting all the local restaurants the credit that they deserve. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. I'm Dr. Randy here with Dr. Tom. As always, thanks for listening. You guys can find us on all of our social medias. Just look Here for the Health of It podcast. And you can find us on our website, too. We always have links there, YouTube. And we have a great guest, we have two great guests for you today. We have the...
we haven't decided.
Well, yeah, we for sure have one great
so
guest.
far.
And we have another person with us that we're going to decide later. We have Lindsay Conine.
Correct.
And you're the events and marketing manager at Columbia Food and Wine Festival, which is a
Yes.
massive event here in Columbia. And then we have Mike, the wine guy,
Hello.
who we found out just loves Star Wars.
Who doesn't? I mean, it's the greatest. Wait, what are we talking about? Star Wars
I
and
don't-
wine.
I don't-
That's
I
what
don't-
life's about.
I
like Star Wars.
I try to get into Star Wars, but it's hard for me to follow because some people are so into it that I feel
They're
like
so
I'm left
ingrained
behind.
from childhood on.
I could spend 10 hours looking into it, and people would still look at me like, you don't know anything. So I just
Got to
kinda
grow
gave
up with it.
Yeah,
You started early,
just
right?
Start anywhere. But yeah, I started very early.
Did you?
I'm told that I was in the theater 3 months old when Return of the Jedi came out. I can't prove it, but that was my father's story.
Nice.
You think
that's
Luke,
a good one.
You think Luke Skywalker would drink wine? Like, do you think what kind of drink do you think he's
It'd be like spiked blue milk, probably.
Oh, really?
Oh, you haven't seen
I've
the
never
movies,
heard of
never
that.
mind.
Did you know what that
I
meant?
knew about it because at
Spiked
Disney
blue
World
milk.
they sell it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Well, let's maybe Lindsay, let's start with you. Tell us about
That's a
yourself.
whole nother episode. So yes, I'm the events organizer, events manager of the Columbia Food and Wine Festival. Our upcoming event at the end of April, 7th annual festival, and Mike is a partner to us who helps on the wine side, obviously, Mike Wine Guy, of the festival, because we couldn't do it without him and his support and the support of the local distributors and restaurants and breweries and all the different partners throughout the hospitality community.
Cool. Mike, tell us about yourself.
And all of that was accurate. I have, since the inception 7 years ago, I guess, of the Columbia Food and Wine, I've been a small player. And then the last couple of years, whenever Lindsay got involved with it, she asked for my help. I just sell wine to restaurants and country clubs, but all of the various wine reps, we all know our competition, and we're not super competitive. We're friends with each other. So my role is more of a liaison to try to get everybody on the same page, just because I know everybody.
Nice.
Can you move
Did
that?
you
Sorry.
Did
It's
you?
just tilted the wrong way.
I mean, this guy is something
There we go.
else. And I'm talking Randy, not you, Mike.
Yeah.
We didn't
There we go,
we didn't
that's
touch
better.
on too. Like he came in with a briefcase, which is remarkable. I feel like the briefcase game. I feel like it's going to be a new thing. But you've had that for how long? Like how long you've been a briefcase guy?
At least a decade. So I don't know if it's going to catch on
10
from me.
years.
No,
Might
no,
be a
no,
little
I'll-
late now.
We're gonna push it.
I
I'm gonna
appreciate
get one.
that.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm gonna need that link.
Walk me through that because I've never really thought I want a hard briefcase.
You know what's weird? When I went to USC to study music education, which has a lot to do with wine, obviously,
Okay.
and all the saxophone majors all carried briefcases. I have no idea why, so I grabbed a briefcase to put all my music books and
Notes
everything
and-
in,
yeah.
and I just followed everybody else and stuck with me.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So you might, because it's hard on either side, right? So you must run into things that you want to put in there, but they're too wide.
My problem is I can get exactly one 750 milliliter bottle of wine in it, but when you put the cork back in, it doesn't fit anymore.
Oh yeah.
That's the biggest issue.
Nice.
And the other big issue is there's these stupid locks. I never lock the briefcase, and you have to almost glue them in place, or every time you move, it changes the combination lock.
Oh right.
This is definitely the material you were looking for on your podcast.
Well,
I'm
it's
sure.
great because I'm just thinking about the good feeling. It got to feel good when you do that little click out thing,
Oh yeah,
and then you lift it up.
as long as you have it
Just-
in the right side. Because
Yeah.
the number of times that I've clicked it upside down and lifted and
Oh,
everything's
no.
fallen out without
Oh,
paying.
no.
Okay.
It takes a lot of learning.
All right. So, so with wine, I want to start with wine. Do you have a background being like a sommelier or done any studying in that? Is that how you say it? A somm?
There's so many different ways to say it. We all just say somm to make
Somm,
it easy.
okay.
I think it's sommelier. It's French, but
Yep.
just a somm.
Yep.
Well, I started working in restaurants. There was a restaurant. It's not here anymore, but there was a restaurant in 5 Points that I worked at for about a decade and really got into wine there. And then basically after years of begging people I was buying the wine from, if they opened up a spot, I got one, and I've kind of been there since. So
Nice.
I love it. As far as the somm thing, I've taken a lot of certifications in that.
Just to learn
Technically, a somm, there's two versions of the word. The short story is a somm is the person in a restaurant who buys the wine, curates the list, et cetera, regardless of if they took a certification or not. That's the somm of the restaurant.
Right.
And then the other one would be a master somm, which there's like 200 in America or something, and or worldwide. There's
One of
very
which
few
we
of them.
have. One of which we have here in Columbia, though, correct?
No, he's an advanced somm.
He's an advanced.
But he's still
okay.
well. Today we actually have a master somm is at Hampton Street Vineyard. They had a little lunch today, but in general,
Really?
but that's the
Wait,
other
is
thing.
that who we had on the podcast?
No. Well,
She
Chelsea was,
Sherry.
Chelsea's an advanced,
but she
somm.
moved.
Yeah,
And she was in advanced.
She was the only female one in South Carolina, I think she said.
that seems very likely. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very.
Yeah,
but
that
as
was
far as that
interesting.
goes, no, I'm not
Okay.
those
Okay.
guys.
Okay.
Well, so if someone's talking about wine and you're sitting there listening to them, just in the general public,
Uh-huh.
what percentage know their stuff, and what percentage are just full of shit?
Mm.
That is a good question. Well, honestly, I think if you drink a wine and you like a wine, then you know
There's
enough
no wrong
about it. I
answer.
don't give a shit. Can I cuss on here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't give a shit either way. But I can tell the people who have really been. You can see the path that they went in there drinking, like what particular marketing is worked here or this or that. There's a little bit of that, but the big thing is Napa wines. That's the time when I can really tell people, because that's the one area where everybody has been. If you've been anywhere in wine country,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also a lot of that really small stuff doesn't come to South Carolina. So that's when they're like, oh, when you're driving down the highway and you go taste with Hank, it's something. I was like, I have absolutely no idea who Hank is. I'm sorry. This is one of several Napa wineries I have not been to. So that's the other thing you can really tell. A lot of people know their Hanks or whoever on the side of the street.
Well, my dad always pretends like he knows a lot about wine. And he came to visit one day, and we have a good friend, Jared Erdmeyer is his name, who he was a big wine collector. So whenever a Napa vineyard would come out, he would buy 24 of them of every year. So he had 2014, 2015, 2016,
Wow.
like all the way up, and massive wine cellars. Anyways, he kind of got out of it, and he brought a bottle, and he was like, here you go, you can have this. And I was like, okay, it's cool to like, I'll have it at my house or whatever. Yeah. But then my dad opened it one day, and then he started drinking it, and he had a glass, and I was like, oh, how is that? And he's like, yeah, it's pretty, it's pretty good. It's not bad. Like he was talking about it like the $10 bottle and the $15 bottle and the $25 bottle that he'd already drank. And I was like, anything different or good? He's like, no, it's just like, it's normal. And I was like, well, it's a $300 bottle of wine. And he's like, no, it's not. Then he Googled it. He was like, oh, I am drinking that, but I had zero clue. But I think there are people like my friend Jared would know immediately the difference between 2014, 2015, 2016. But I can't tell the difference between who's, everyone's so good at pretending. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Columbia Family Chiropractic, with 3 easy-to-get-to locations, one in Forest Acres, which is by Trader Joe's, one in O'Neill Court by the DMV, and one in the Northeast by Sand Hills. You'll be sure to have somewhere near you. They offer a ton of services from corrective care, on-site digital x-rays, spinal decompression for bulging or herniated discs, dry needling for injuries, pediatric care, and a Class 4 laser. They accept all your major insurances. And if you mention this ad, you'll get a discount on your first appointment. Check out their website at cfc4health.com or Google Columbia Family Chiropractic. That's cfc4health.com.
Well, I'll tell you, here's the one thing. So Brian Del Volpe from Gourmet Shop, who's participating this year too.
Yeah.
But there's a wine seminar thing that we do on the Sunday festival, and there's a couple of different blocks. And a few years ago, him and I did a segment called Wine Myths. And it was basically the two of us just grabbing the microphone and passing off different things that people think about wine that are wrong, or,
that's
kind
cool.
of going into it. And so I was going to say, if you want the one hint of somebody who thinks that they might know something about wine.
Here we go. I better write this down.
It's it's the legs. So they'll swirl.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is on video, but
that's a
they'll
move.
swirl and then they'll look at the legs or the tiers and they'll say, "Man, look at those legs. This wine's amazing." And
Yeah.
the legs do not tell you anything about the quality of.
Yes.
So that's they tell you the legs are because alcohol and water evaporate at different rates. So if there's a lot of legs, it's a high alcohol wine, or it's a really like not Moscato, but like dessert sweet. So it's actually
It's a good
going
trick.
down the side. But yeah, the general that, or the people who smell the corks, that almost never is telling you something. Sometimes it'll tell you very little thing, but it's almost never a
That's
real
good.
thing.
Randy
So,
licks
yeah.
the cork. He like puts it out and just.
Oh no, that's a pro move. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's-
Smelling, it's not enough for me. I just get a
I
taste.
take the whole thing in.
Okay, so what can we expect from the Columbia Food and Wine Festival this year?
Well, this year you can definitely expect it to be bigger than ever before because, like we said, this is our 7th year. We actually started as a one-day festival in 5 Points, just
No
a
kidding.
tasting event on a Sunday right there on Saluda Avenue. So we have grown from that to 5 days. 12 different events. That is, our signature events that kick off on Wednesday, April 24th, and go through Saturday. And those are all very smaller, more intimate, different food and beverage concepts. Like he mentioned, Brian at Gourmet Shop, that's a great opportunity to go and actually interact with him and learn about French wines. They're
Right.
doing a whole oyster setup and a French baguette
Ah.
station. And there's going to be an accordion player. And so it's all these smaller, more intimate events that have different concepts. And we change that lineup every single year. So it's all new talent, venue, everything. But it all leads up to, where we started with that big Sunday party. Honestly, it is a celebration of all things food and wine and beverage and hospitality in Columbia, the Columbia region at that.
And what's wild, we were talking before the show, him and I have not been there at all.
Which is crazy. It's almost like the best kept secret, but at the same
Yeah.
time, we keep selling out every single
Right.
year. And once you go, I've been the event manager for 3 years now for the festival, but I've gone as an attendee since year 1. And once you go, it's your favorite. It's your absolute favorite event. You look forward to it every single year.
And then what's the biggest difference between the signature events and then the big grand event at the end?
So the big grand tasting is it's a finale of the week. So that is where it is an open invitation to all of the Columbia region restaurants, local breweries. We even have, cocktail spirit tents, obviously all of the wine tents that Mike organizes. We have local artisans. I mean, it has something for everyone. And I mean, we're talking I think we're up to about 75 to 80 different, vendors there that you're doing tastings of.
Wow.
So it's really a sample of everything that you can imagine in the Columbia hospitality scene. Whereas the signature events are more of a dive down into a specific concept. Like we're doing a Asian night market that's like a outdoor street vendor type event with all the different Asian cuisines, Asian inspired cuisines in Columbia. We're doing a Hampton Street Vineyard that we were talking about, their advanced Jonathan Lopez, who is doing a vegetarian dinner where he's partnering with a local farmer's market and local farm, Tom's Creek Family Farm, and the farmers exchange. So there's something for everyone. Whether you're into bourbon, you can come to the Bovinoche Butcher and Bourbon event. If you're into wine, you can do Gourmet Shop or Hampton Street Vineyard. Or if you just want really good food, you can go to any one of these events.
And so there's cocktails. It's not just food and wine.
All of our events are individually ticketed. So even if you just want to go to one dinner or if you just want to go to the grand tasting, they're all individually ticketed and they are all inclusive. So every ticket includes your food, your beverages, your entertainment. And most of our events have, local brews available, wines available, and signature cocktails by some of our very talented mixologists throughout Columbia as well.
And where is it?
Well, there's 12 different events.
Okay.
11 of them, the signature events, are all at different locations. We actually kick off in Main Street, Lexington this year, a private property, while also having a kickoff event on Main Street, Columbia, downtown Columbia at the same time. We're at Gourmet Shop, Hampton Street. Like I mentioned, we are at Steel Hands. We're at Weco Beer and Bottle Garden.
Dragon Room.
The Dragon Room is the Asian night market. I have to look at the list because there's so many.
Yeah.
We are at Hampton Preston doing a outdoor brunch style picnic event. We are at the Skin House, which is it's a new place in 5 Points that I personally love, where you can actually do skin cocktails, like facials for your skin.
Nice.
We are at City Roots this year for the Bovinoche that I was just talking about. So we're everywhere across the Columbia region, Lexington and Richland counties, Wednesday through Saturday. And then Sunday for the grand tasting, we are at the Robert Mills and Hampton Preston Estates in downtown Columbia, both historic Columbia properties. So obviously you have a beautiful backdrop. And that's where we've been the last, I believe, 4 years for our grand tasting. So we're excited to expand back out again this year to Hampton Preston and have an even larger footprint. But it's a beautiful setting. You can't beat. Yeah, you cannot beat, those gardens in the springtime.
And do people just get hammered sometimes?
Well, you're eating so much and you want to experience all the food too. We do encourage ride shares. Let me go ahead and say that. But
I picture it being older, like how the college parties at the frat lot, but I picture it being for 30 to 40 year olds. Yes, like they grew up and now they're going to a wine event instead of a frat party.
Our audience, you'd be very surprised, is very wide ranging to your young professionals, all the way up to your retired downtowners who like to go to art gallery openings and restaurants and everything. So you see a little bit of everyone there, and like I said, there is something for everyone. So it's a great audience, and I think that again we make sure that we have something for everyone. Even if you're not a big wine person, guess what, we have 10 local breweries who come out and do samples.
Sweet.
So like I said, you just got to come and experience it. Whenever somebody asks about it, I say you just gotta come.
Are kids and pets and all are they allowed to come?
We have done family-friendly events in the past, but the way that our ticketing is and it being all-inclusive, it is a 21 and older, all of our events, unless noted. But we try to do a community-based event too every year. So like 2 years ago, we did a kids cooking class in partnership with Publix and Adventure. So, we try to have something new like that every year, but unfortunately this year it is all 21 and older.
And no dogs.
That too kind of depends on the individual venue. So some of them might allow that. Some are, maybe not as on board with that, but that just depends on the event. And if you do have questions about that, just reach out on the website and we'll let you know.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people won't go anywhere without their dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can have dogs for the grand tasting though, right?
I believe so. Historic Columbia, that is one of the things that it is a historic property.
Oh, they have their own rules.
And they're very particular because you want to, preserve that.
Yeah.
So it's while we don't necessarily encourage it, if they're the ones that, you hold in the little carrier and then kind of walk around with you. I don't know if we're going to say anything, but.
Randy has a service cat that he doesn't really leave.
I have two. I have two of them actually.
And you wear it in a sling. Yes, I'm sure. Like a baby carrier.
They like to walk.
Okay. Please tell me you have leashes for these cats.
He's got all the paperwork. So I guess when you guys are creating this event, how do you choose the different restaurants? How do you choose the food? Are you a big player in we want this style? Or is it more of like an open application? And how does that whole process work?
And I've said this a couple of times. It's funny, as we're breaking down the grand tasting on Sunday, I will have at least 3 or 4 people come up and be like, hey, got a really good idea for next year. And there's always concepts that whenever our team is sitting here trying to plan what our signature events are for the next year, it's, I really like that. But what if we also incorporated this? We got a new restaurant opening maybe in May. So can we put that on the calendar for 2025? Like we already have an ongoing, I think, brainstorm list of different events that we want to do. But ultimately, a lot of it relies on the talent, the restaurants, and, our partners like Mike and them being willing to step up and kind of run with a different idea or a concept and really make it come to life.
But let's say the store manager at McDonald's approached you and said, we'd love to have a booth.
One thing about Columbia Food and Wine is we do encourage local restaurants.
Nothing really corporate, right?
Yeah, we don't see a lot of corporate, or if it is something that maybe is part of a corporation, that corporation is based in Charleston, and this is their one Columbia location. So, something that really speaks to the Columbia region and to our city and kind of our personality. Columbia has a very, I think, distinct personality and kind of cheeky. And I think Experience Columbia always says, we have grit. Appropriate. Obviously, we're a food and wine festival, so you have lots of grits, but it's very much more of a local celebration of that local talent. So as much as we love our franchises and our larger corporation style restaurants, this festival is majority just local.
Gotcha.
What about fighting? I could see
Is there an area for fighting?
not physical fighting, but
Competition-wise in
pettiness.
between?
Like this taco place can't
No,
stand this
no.
taco place, and they're
It
not
is-
authentic, and they're doing it right.
Another part, and I think that you can speak to this too, Mike, but it is a reunion. You look at all these different restaurants, and this chef is like, oh, that's my buddy. You know, he's working at this restaurant now, but we were line cooks together, or we
Right.
came up in culinary school together. Or, I mean, they all have stories and histories. And this, especially on Sunday, is a big reunion for the entire hospitality industry. And it's so fun to watch. Connections that I didn't even know existed. And then he's like, oh, yeah, I got this guy. And, you know, it's somebody who did a signature event 5 years ago, or there's a ton of overlap and a ton of support, I think, in that community, more than anything. So it's a big reunion.
How do you, so when you select a restaurant, are you actually selecting or approving, or how does that work?
It's like America's Got Talent
Yeah.
or blind taste
Oh my
testing.
gosh, if it was, they
That'd
would
be
have to come
great.
through me and I would have to sample everything. I would love that. But no, we are open. It's, you know, our website is open to anybody who wants to participate. We have an ongoing list that we sit down and add any new restaurants somebody opened over the last year and literally blasted out
Gotcha.
to all of these people. But I think one thing that makes ours unique is our restaurant participants, we don't require them to apply or like pay a
Do
fee or anything.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, we actually pay them. You know, that's the
Really?
part of it being a nonprofit this year. But even before we were a nonprofit, we actually give stipends back to the community, chef stipends, mixologist stipends, profit shares for the restaurants or venues that are hosting. So, you know, they're willing to participate and do different, you know, marketing. We try to get them podcasts and news stations and promote them, because really this festival is about them. So there's no application process, I would say. It's just simply, hey, reach out. We'll tell you what all we need, because obviously they still provide the food.
Right.
And then we take care of everything else and just spotlight them that day.
Yeah, I guess that's where I was thinking about that, is if, like, when they're chosen or they're a part of this, the cost, where does all the funding come from? So you mentioned the nonprofit. And then are they responsible for what they want to bring to the table?
They are responsible for their one sample dish.
Okay.
We ask them to do a 2-ounce sample serving of whatever they choose. And they're responsible for that, and simply just having staff at the tent to hand that out during the festival. But you know, other than that, we provide the tent, the tables, the chairs, the signage, the servingware, everything. We try to make it as easy as possible so this isn't a heavy load for our restaurant participants, because they're already doing so much being away from, you know, their restaurant on that day, bringing staff out there. And the nonprofit piece of it this year, especially, again, first year that we are a nonprofit. That has been our goal since the very beginning in 2018. So we are thrilled that we're finally there. We've always done sponsorships to actually, you know, pay for the event and then be able to give that money back to the hospitality community. And now that we're a nonprofit, that just opens up many more doors to more funding, so we can up that chef stipend and give them more to participate, and then hopefully get more participants from even outside of Columbia. And yeah, it just allows us to give back.
That's cool. And then what about, I have a question for Mike about do you have a nemesis in the wine world?
The virgin drinks.
Shirley Temple.
I feel like I should have. Shirley Temple. That's the right answer.
Or even maybe I'm still on the Star Wars thing with you, but is it Luke to Darth Vader or Anakin to? You know how there's always a story. You know how there's always a
You're messing with me
storyline.
here, right?
No, I swear.
Origin story.
I swear.
What was it?
I don't know.
It was Sky
I don't know.
Walker,
But I
you're
did
saying?
I did see something that Luke and the female. I'm realizing
Whoa,
now how
this
little
is
I know.
Great.
The female.
The female are related. Like they almost kiss, but then they're actually related.
You really haven't watched
Are you
any,
saying-
have you?
No
you
clue.
just heard about that?
I did hear
Just
about that. It
no
sounded
clue.
weird to me.
This new thing out there called Star Wars.
I did.
I don't. It's different than wine. You know, people who don't know anything about wine can still sound like they do. To
Yeah,
answer your question from earlier,
that's what I would
people
think
who
is
know
your
nothing
nemesis.
about Star Wars apparently cannot
Can't even fake their way
kind of,
through it.
Yeah.
Leia.
Like,
Got
Yes.
it. I remember.
She is the female role.
Yep. Got it. Oh, all right. So there's not, but it's not really because like in the misinformation world, there's no. Like
I
if
thought
the
you were.
wine.
I thought you were saying like a person. Yes, there's.
But I
so
would like
much
a person. There's some people that push misinformation. Like in our world, we're in our chiropractic world. Ours is like the opioid thing where everybody's, they have an issue and they're just loaded with drugs. They get hooked on drugs, and then all these kids are dying and snorting it, or they move to heroin. Like that's part of our world that we're like, this is not okay, and we're fighting against it.
That
so I'm
makes
curious if
sense.
there's anything like that in the wine world.
There's a lot of things that I like anything else. Misinformation drives me nuts. And if you'll be scrolling through, doom scrolling, whatever, and you'll see an ad for the healthy ones are the ones that really kill me. It's fine if you're making something healthier, but they say stuff like, we don't add any sugar to our wine. It's like, yeah, you don't add sugar to wine. That's not a thing you do.
Right.
Our wine, we don't add. I can't even think of some of the shit that they say.
Mold. I always hear mold free.
Organic's got.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like to just say something that wouldn't be there in the first place. And the sulfites thing drives me nuts because sulfites is that's the thing that in America we have to label on the back that says sulfite free. But like the amount of sulfites in like a glass of wine is the same amount as like one French fry, like sulfites are in like literally everything.
They have all those products like the spoons now that you stir, so you don't have those in your wine.
But it's just the misinformation. That's my big.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh,
do you have one?
Yeah,
Tom probably has. Tom would buy one of those for sure.
For sure.
I have a friend who carries them with her everywhere we go.
It's to get the sulfites out or something,
yes,
right?
I believe so.
What's it
doesn't
make?
give you a headache the next day or something.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
what I was going to ask. Yeah. I've heard that.
Yeah, well, so people can, first of all, the sulfites thing, without giving the full story, is a Strom Thurmond teetotaler scare tactic. That's the whole reason we even know about sulfites. They're also naturally occurring. You make wine, there's sulfites in it. The only way to have no sulfites is to do a process to literally take the sulfites out, which is ridiculous because then your wine goes bad in a week or whatever. So it's a whole thing there. I don't even know where I was ramping up to there. I'm so sorry. I was just the whole sulfite thing is just misinformation, and it's just silly.
But you were asking about headaches.
Oh, that was loud.
There we go. So your question about headaches.
Hangover. Well, no, I like the sulfites thing.
Yeah,
because I've always heard that they're not great for you. I always thought you have a grape, you ferment it, that makes sense. Right. But then there's things that get added to it.
The only thing, there are legal things that you can add to it. One of the things is there's a grape concentrate. That's how you get some of these California wines that are just very dark and sugary. Mm-hmm. But in general, if you're going to add sugar to it, you have to add it before the fermentation, and it's so you can have more alcoholic product. It's like in areas where you don't have enough ripening. It's super cold with that. Right. But the main thing that the headaches, the sulfites can affect like 1% of the population, people with asthma or something. I'm not saying it's not a thing that exists. I'm saying that's not what's generally giving you the headache. Histamines, there's another thing that can be giving you a headache and can affect some people. But the majority of the things why people are like, well, I'm in Italy and I drink all this wine and I never get a headache. It's because you don't realize that when you're in Italy, you're on a stress-free vacation, eating all the time, walking everywhere. Like anybody would not get hungover if they're in Italy just hanging out on vacation. So it's not really that the wine's made differently in different places. Like in America, we add sulfites to stuff. It's just that you're enjoying it and drinking it in a great environment. So it's going to be better.
Well, there is. So I'll play devil's advocate to that, because when I was in chiropractic school, there was all these guys from Norway that were in our class, and they all refused to drink any American-made beer, Coors Light, Bud Light, anything like that, because they said it all makes them sick and gives them a hangover. And I never thought about it before and realized it, but then I started paying attention, and I was like, oh, if I have one Budweiser or one Bud Light, I feel miserable the next day. But if I have it from a different country, it's fine. Like a Corona or a Heineken wouldn't bother me the same way. And I've tried to figure out if there's something in it, and I think there's some sort of conspiracy where in America you're allowed to use a chemical that isn't allowed in other places, but they don't have to disclose it, or it's small enough that they don't have to disclose it. But I know nothing about the wine world. I've always been told if it's an expensive bottle of wine, you don't get a headache. If it's a cheap bottle of wine or out of a box, you do get a headache.
Depends on how much you drink.
Yeah, I don't know that I have.
You don't think there's anything to that? One glass to one glass feel the same?
Well, I'm very blessed. I'm not a hangover person, so I always feel the same.
That's how you get in the wine world with
Yeah.
that blessing.
Yeah. Does
Okay.
your mouth ever taste like crap the next morning?
My
Like
teeth can be
Zaxby's?
quite
It's good
purple in the
Zaxby's.
morning.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, does it get super dry though? Like sometimes when I try to get into wine, I just the next day I felt like somebody came with a blow dryer and just like was just in there blow drying and then dumping
I agree
manure.
with that. Yes.
I think I'm very lucky. I haven't.
You never had
I
any of
haven't
that.
had-
Maybe it's just me.
But no, I mean, that's why you went to chiropractors, and
That's right.
I
That's
went
exact-
into booze.
There you go. Now, at what point did you look in the mirror and you said, "I'm Mike the wine guy"? Like, what was the journey from Mike to Mike the wine guy?
So, not my current employer, but my previous employer within the wine industry, which
Yeah.
was 8 or 9 years ago, something around there. I was never a cell phone. I don't think I got a cell phone until I remember
No way.
in 2001 was when I started college at USC, and I remember
Yeah.
sitting on a bench in the horseshoe, and some guy was walking on a cell phone, and I just nudged whoever's with me, and I remember specifically saying, "Look at that idiot! This is never going to catch on." And at that point, I was already behind, but I didn't get a cell phone until 10 years later, till I left the restaurant.
Wow.
So, so when I started with this distributor, at one point they called everybody in the state together and said, "We really want you to get behind social media. You need to make up a Facebook account." And I did not want to do that at all.
Right.
And so I just went with Wine Guy because I had no desire to. And then from there, it's because whenever you call
Really?
certain corporate accounts, because I used to have to sell to Ruby Tuesdays and whatever,
Yeah.
whoever you call to ask if they have an order for the week, they never know what you're trying to ask ever or who you are, and they don't care. And so after the first 2 months, I just said, "Hey, this is Mike, the wine guy. Can I talk to your manager?" And it just was,
That's
"Oh, it's the wine guy."
And it
you know,
blossomed.
and it blossomed.
Do you have any tattoos?
I do not have any tattoos. I'm supposed to be getting one this weekend. What did that have to do with?
Just where my
Alright.
brain goes. I get it out of the
Yeah.
system.
What are you
Because I
going to get? You
envision-
must have been putting off something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that true? You're
what-
getting one this weekend?
Yes, my
Wow,
wife and I
see?
are going to Lexington to get a.
No way.
We are getting mana symbols, which I'm going to assume Star Wars guy doesn't know anything about, but it's Magic
Zero.
the Gathering, which is a nerdy card game, and I'm getting the blue mana symbol of the island, and my wife is getting the swamp, which is the skull.
See, I knew it.
On your
I knew something was
We are
shoulders?
very psychic.
Lindsay, you're blown away by that.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Lindsay wants to come
Wait,
with
you
you
also
guys.
play
Yes.
Magic the Gathering? We never
No,
talked
I
about
just-
this.
Yeah, she's in the Montana crew that
Oh,
meet at
gosh.
8 p.m. at night.
I think you missed the whole
Zoom.
disclaimer about how they will go into anything, but I'm excited to hear the
Well, apparently, this is great.
just the timing of the tattoos and the fact that y'all are getting one this weekend. That's pretty,
Yeah.
pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I want to know more
Sense
about
it.
it. How? So if you put your shoulders against each other, do they make one?
It makes magic.
So she has picked out a very. My wife has quite a few tattoos, and so she's the experienced one. And so
Nice.
I think we're going to a person whose name is Bearded Matt. Shout out!
Shout
If
out
that's-
Bearded
I
Matt.
think because
Oh,
he does.
you appreciate
That
a guy
sounds
with,
authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that. It's kind of like
But-
Mike the wine
That's
guy.
what I said. It's exactly who you would
You
go
gotta
to.
trust it.
But yeah, I think we're going somewhere in Lexington. She's doing all the research and telling me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like our powers combined when we touch shoulders. We haven't worked on that part yet, but I'm sure he'll consult us into the appropriate placement.
Well, the real question, and I don't think they know this, is what suit are you going to wear to the grand tasting? Because
nobody
Mike
knows that.
also always shows up at the grand tasting in the best suit
Really?
you will ever see.
You have a suit guy?
I like. So when she says best suits, to be clear, they're Pac-Man suits, Star Wars suits,
Like top,
Batman
bottom,
ridiculous suits.
fold.
Full deal.
Yeah, they're
Mhm.
nice. Yeah, but I haven't revealed that anywhere yet. So
Okay.
yeah, it's
Keep that.
gonna
You gotta,
have to
you
wait.
gotta go to the festival to see.
You gotta go to the festival to see.
Now, are you guys both at all events?
Mike is shaking his head no. I am typically. This year we have a little bit more overlap than we have in past years. So I do have a co-organizer, Kelly Glenn, who owns and runs Village Idiot Pizza. And very thankful for her because if I can't be there, she steps in and vice versa. And we basically just kind of high five as we're crossing all of Columbia that entire week. So if I'm not there, she's there. And we usually try to at least pop in towards the end if we can.
Let's talk more behind the scenes.
Mhm.
The organization of all this stuff and how you keep it together and how this starts. Like, is this a 1 year? like planning thing, or when do you start the process of, say, 2025 or even this past one?
You know, we're getting to that point where it's becoming an entire year-round planning. We did reinstate with our new nonprofit status. We did reinstate our strategic growth committee this year. We had that the very first year of the festival, saying, you know, the first year was a collaboration between Five Points Association and Free Times, who really got it up and going. And so they wanted to bring in representatives from the hospitality community to say, hey, we want to do this right. And that's, you know, wine representatives, that's restaurants, that's hotels. You know, we have Experience Columbia has always been involved, you know, all these different players in the hospitality scene. So we reinstated that this year as well, and have some amazing individuals. So as we do continue to grow, we grow responsibly and still, you know, stay true to our roots, stay true to Columbia, and stay true to the hospitality scene. So with that committee, it's turning back into more of a complete year-round planning, which I think that it deserves. You know, all the big festivals. South Carolina is very fortunate to have some amazing wine and food festivals. Charleston, obviously, Hilton Head, Euphoria, and Greenville. So, you know, Columbia, we are quickly catching up to that, and I think we're going to be moving in that direction, that it's a full-time year-round. Right now, I still have about 4 or 5 other events that I do throughout the year, but if I could go full-time food and wine all the time, I would.
Yeah. And do you just have a notebook you put everything?
I mean, I use this thing called a laptop.
Oh, cool. Mike's never heard of that. He's not catching on.
I mean, we have an ongoing drive because, again, we have so many partners from so many different industries. It's not just all internal.
Right.
So we have so many different drives that we all kind of compile everything in, share everything in. It's a lot of communication across all the different industries, all the different players and partners. I mean, we've gotten to the point now, I'm texting these two, I feel like, on a daily basis. But it's a lot of reliance on the hospitality industry and kind of, like I said, the talents that we call them, but really the champions of each one of those individual events. Those chefs that do come up to me after the grand tasting is like, hey, I want to do this next year. You know, okay, you're my champion then of this particular event.
Right.
You got to run with it. I'm going to connect you with this spirit partner. I'm going to connect you with Mike to handle the wine. You know, you're in Lexington, so let's connect you with Hazelwood to do the beers, or Main Street, and let's go to Peak Drift. You know, we connect the dots, but we rely on all of these individuals because they're the ones who know. Yeah. They know their business better than anybody else, and they know what makes people happy and what the best food and beverage and entertainment's going to be for that particular event. So it's a big moving piece, and I just try to keep it all together.
Yeah, it blows me away that you're like the main person that does all of this, essentially. I mean, I know you have people that help, but
we do have a great team. You know, we brought marketing and PR, Ashley Elsie, who's been a huge partner to the festival over the last couple of years. Like I said, Mike came on when I came on as the organizer 3 years ago. We have a spirits lead as well. Grant McCloskey out at Ratio has been at the last 2 years, and Jake Cooper was Smoked, and LTC Hospitality is running with it this year. So, and I have to say the distributors as well, who get us, donate all this product and, you know, make it possible for us to even eat.
Right.
US Foods is a huge partner and works with all of our restaurants. Certified SC is our presenting sponsor. So it's all very, you know, local ingredients. And last year for our kickoff dinner, I was about to drive up to Spartanburg to get a special rabbit dish from some special farm in Spartanburg to get it here in time for the kickoff dinner and the dish our chef wanted to do. So again, it's a whole lot of talented and also passionate, I would say, individuals from all different industries and aspects who come together to make Columbia Food and Wine what it is.
Nice.
So it was rabbit. Did you try it?
I did a tiny piece because obviously I'm, you know, working around, but I did have one attendee who said, I never in a million years would have tried it if it weren't Chef Wes Fulmer, who was making it. And she goes, I'm a convert. That was amazing.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to try some new things, and this is the perfect opportunity to do that.
It's almost better to not know what's in the stuff, right? I think that's how I would have to go into it, because I would get sketchy on a lot of this.
Well, and I mean, with it being our certified SC being our, you know, partner in this, our presenting sponsor, it's all locally sourced and all,
like, you know, rabbits from your backyard.
That's what when I went to Vietnam, I would say, we would say like, what kind of meat? They'd be like, here, meat. And I'd be like, what kind of meat is this? And they'd be like, it's
You
meat.
don't need to know.
And you're like, no, what
No,
what
we
kind?
don't encourage
and they
that
would just
here.
say meat.
But like our Bovinoche style event, that's open fire pit, like open flame cooking. And it's right now, I think it's 8 different chefs. We'll be doing different meat variations and cooking them all like in front of you in different
That's
ways.
cool.
And you kind of get to do samples of everything. But again, it's all South Carolina
Right.
products that you know where they're
Right.
coming from. And you get to see this local talent, make it and then taste it right there and have
Yeah.
a nice little bourbon cocktail while you're at it. And it's all about the experience.
And so all these creatives,
Mhm.
you have to organize somehow,
Yes.
which
Yes.
seems difficult to me. Because the more creative they are, probably the better they are at being a chef. But the less they follow instructions, the less they have a schedule, the less they're organized,
They
the
are
more they need you to drive to Spartanburg
they're
last
in
minute.
their own world, and you have to respect the creative part of that. But like going back to they know what they do best. And they'll also be like, hey, I don't want to do this part. Can you handle this? Or they say, let me run with it. I got this. Most of these people have a wonderful team in-house that they've put together, back of house, front of house,
Okay, that's nice.
bar staff. So again, when they need help, we're there to step in and do the, connect. But otherwise, a lot of times we're like, okay, this is what it is. We'll do all the marketing, the signage and the menus and the centerpieces, but we're letting you run with it. I think Hampton Street Vineyard is a perfect example of that. You can't beat their service and Jonathan's knowledge. And then he pulls into local partners to create this amazing meal and he runs with it and it's
Yeah.
going to be delicious.
Nice. And then I guess what tips do you have for maybe first timers that are coming or people that maybe came a few years ago but are going to come back?
First and foremost, biggest tip is get your ticket because we are already selling out. I think 2 of our signatures are already sold out. All of our VIP and early access for our grand tasting is sold out. So I always tell everybody, just get your ticket.
Yeah.
Get it as soon as
Get
possible.
in there.
And also too, if you always go to private property, it's one of your favorites, absolutely go to our kickoff because it's going to be delicious. But also maybe try something new. If you've never been to Dragon Room, go ahead and try that Asian night market. Kind of balance it and try somewhere new and different, and you might have a new favorite. So that's the first thing. You can find out about all of these events because we go into a lot of detail on our website about the concept and the talent behind each one of these. ColumbiaFoodAndWineFestival.com has everything that you could possibly need to know about any of these events for sure. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to the festival. We're happy to help you. But that's the main thing is get the ticket.
And if you're new, if they could only go to one event, what do you recommend
Oh my
them
gosh.
go to?
Well, I have to see the grand tasting because then
Yeah.
you get, most of our
Sample everything.
exactly. And most of our signature event participants are all there on Sunday at the grand tasting as well. Not to mention just the setting with the, beautiful properties. We have live music and we had a cigar roller out there last
that's
year.
cool.
And, we have the beverage demos that Mike was referencing where they're going to be doing, you can actually sit down and listen to him talk more about wine. I think we're going to have somebody do a series on rosé. I think we're going to have somebody do a series on Japanese spirit, like liquors. So there's so many things.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation, but you also can't go wrong with any of our signature events.
Sweet.
That would be cool. So when we were I've been to Thailand and Vietnam, and both
Yes.
times they have the night markets that you go to,
Mhm.
and it's pretty cool because I think they said it's because there was obviously a language barrier, but they made it sound like the reason they had it at night was because it would get so hot during the day that then you would go do all your shopping and all the vendors would be out at night.
And they're cooking right there too. This concept actually was another one of our chef-driven concepts that Christian Nemi of Bourbon, Dragon Room, and Black Rooster was like, I want to do this. And he ran with it. And, we're going to have amazing sake. We're going to have Asian cocktails, Japanese beer. But then all these other restaurants, we got a new Vietnamese sandwich shop who's participating. We have Boku,
Nice.
Dragon Room, Hanabi. So, you have so many options.
Is Anakaya in it?
Oh my gosh. I'm trying. I would love to have them there. They're
They'll
one of
listen to this
they're one
and
of
know
my
that they need to
favorites.
be on it.
One phone call from Randy and they're there.
Done.
Maybe
Done
even
and
a
done.
text message. Now, did you guys used to do or did an event on the runway at an airport or at the airport? Was that you guys?
So yes, we actually have had 2 now out at
That's
the airport. Columbia Metropolitan Airport has been a huge supporter and sponsor since the beginning. So we did 2 signature events. One was 3 years ago, I believe, and was an actual like formal dinner on the runway at a private hangar at CAE. And
That's
then
cool.
last year, we did a huge food truck rodeo and with a big concert on the runway. I mean, built a stage where you have planes taking off behind you. The Blue Dogs came out and played, and then it was all just local food trucks. So, the great thing about our signature events, yes, some of them are in our favorite restaurants, but the talent is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Right.
Some of them, it's the venue, who,
That's
when
unreal.
else
That's
are you going to have a chance to do that?
I was going to say, like, how do you organize that? That seems like it'd be very difficult. Does the city help you in any of this stuff, or?
We, again, now that we're moving into a nonprofit, we hope to be able to work more with the city in a lot of different ways. Obviously, we rely very much on the city to help us with the resolution to close down Blanding Street in between the 2 properties for the grain tasting.
Right.
We rely on the city to help us, with parking, with security, and all that fun
Yeah.
details that we have to deal with. But really, it's, with those particular events, we worked with hangar security, TSA. We had some of the individual pilots kind of taxi the little smaller planes out there. So we had the planes positioned, parked right there on either side of the stage.
That's awesome.
We rely on these partners and these people who are as passionate about, the Columbia hospitality scene and food and beverage scene, and spotlighting them as much as we are.
Nice.
Yeah, as you were saying that, I was wondering if you had to go through TSA like normal, take your shoes off, your belt off.
No, we had
X-ray.
to do, to get onto the track, to actually bring everything around and build everything out on the actual runway, we had to have a little bit of that. But everybody else came in through the hangar, the private hangar. So Eagle Aviation were amazing and worked with us on that.
Do you guys want any volunteers? Like, is this one of those things for whether it's for a committee or just volunteering? If there's listeners who are like, I just want to be involved in this.
We love that. Our website actually has a whole form for either participating, sponsoring, volunteering. You can fill that out, and surprise, it comes directly to me. And then I reach out and I try to fit you in. We also, though, we do work with a lot of local nonprofit organizations who actually donate their time to us to run the grain tasting specifically. And then we, that's another one of our give backs, is we take our profits and we actually give back to those nonprofit organizations and donate to them to pay for their time. So we have a good bit of volunteers, which we could not do this without them. But we are always looking for more. So definitely check out the website if you are interested, and hopefully we can get you in this year.
Nice.
That's cool.
And then what's proper etiquette, just as far as like showing up? Are there do's and don'ts, like things that
That's
people?
true. I always feel like you don't really know what to do.
Like
around
Randy would
wine
show
guys.
up in a
Around
suit.
Mike the wine guy, I'd be like, I know I'm doing stuff that's just irritating him at every moment. I'm
I
drinking
see.
this wrong. I'm holding it wrong.
But that's the fun thing about Columbia specifically. We're open. Come to anyone. Come on in. I mean, yes, there's some events that might be a little bit more, hey, let's do cocktail attire for this one. Usually if it is, we put that in the description on the ticket so
Okay.
you're aware. But honestly, it's be comfortable, especially at the grain tasting, because you are outside, you are standing. All of our events are all rain or shine as well.
Oh, I was gonna ask weather stuff.
Yeah, gives me heart palpitations just thinking about it.
Yep.
But we do, dress comfortable, dress nice. Obviously, there's a lot of pictures and photo opportunities. I mean, what is it? The phone eats first that they say now.
The phone eats first.
Oh yeah, everybody's taking pictures constantly of all the
Oh, I
dishes, the
get it. That's
cocktails, the
good.
brews, the wine, everything. So, etiquette wise, just dress nice, but dress comfortable. And I mean, come as you are. Honestly, it's
Tank top and Crocs for our good friend Randy over here.
Randy,
to each their own.
No, I don't like Crocs.
if you're
Take
With a
drinking,
Crocs.
tank top. Oh yeah.
if you're drinking wine around me and you're happy, that's the right way to drink wine.
Exactly.
You can't drink wine. There's no wrong way to drink
Wrong
wine around
way.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, no challenge accepted
Yeah.
here, but there's not.
Yeah, nice. But there's not certain places, or I guess if you like wearing a hat, for example.
Oh no, absolutely. That is
Hats are
fine.
fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, again, we have some more like formal sit down meals, 4-course meals, but it's still Columbia. We're still a casual, welcoming, I think,
Yeah.
bunch, and you're not gonna go run. We're not gonna turn you away for your tank top and your hat.
Yeah. Now, do
Maybe
you,
your Crocs.
Yeah, I wouldn't wear Crocs. That's crossing the line.
Do you have like a headset while you're there? Like, how are
Actually,
you
it's really funny that I was thinking about now that we're spreading back between two properties.
That's a really good
I thought
idea. There
about
should
it
be
this
one.
year. I mean, at
No,
least
it's usually
Little
running around.
earpiece.
Hey, have you seen Lindsay? Oh,
Yeah.
where's
Yeah.
Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I need to have like the balloon stuck to me,
Right.
like Mario Kart or something, so you can see me from a distance. But no headset. Maybe that will be a special surprise, or maybe I don't know, some walkie talkies.
Yeah, walkie-talkie
Yeah.
seems like the right move.
Something to do, because I mean, there's a lot going on, especially at the green tasting. So, good idea.
Yeah.
What are you wearing this year? Have you
I
seen?
wanted to answer your question in a second.
Yes.
But go ahead. What are you
What am
wearing?
I
Yeah,
wearing?
I want to know.
Whatever
do you pick
I
it,
can
do you
throw
pick
on
it soon
in the
enough in
bathroom.
advance?
No. We're working. This is our event. We're making
Mm-hmm.
sure that this is a good experience for all of you guys. So I sometimes try to run and, throw something on real quick, so I'm not the person in yoga pants in the background in every picture. But usually we try to, dress something light, because it's Columbia, South
Running
Carolina.
around,
It could
yeah.
be 90 degrees. It could be 60 degrees, but you never know. So again, really just comfortable and fun.
Bikinis,
That's
like
nice.
things that you should normally wear outside.
So you're saying you wouldn't spend the entire day loading cases of wine in the heat in a 3-piece suit? That's a horrible idea.
Oh
huh?
wait.
Well, that's what
wait. He does every year.
No, well, so you were asking her about tips, and then you were
Yes.
asking about etiquette, and I have maybe something between both of them just to mention.
Nice.
When you go to the grand tasting, the other events maybe not so much, but there's, I don't know, 150 different wines, not to mention liquors and other things. You don't have to be obliged to drink every single one. If you want to, there's a
Right.
dump bucket at every table. Feel free to spit. There's no, yeah.
Like people are fine with you, like, oh my God, this is gross. Whoa.
half of that. Maybe not the blah, but no. I mean, we're doing an ounce. I think an ounce pour. So
2
you're-
ounce.
2
Or wait,
ounce.
Oh,
No,
wow.
no, no,
wait,
no, we're
wait,
not.
wait,
No,
hang
no,
on.
no.
It's 1 ounce.
The
Yeah,
one-
you're right.
Half
Yeah.
ounce.
There's a line on the glass, on your complimentary glass. So
of
it's,
bourbon
it's
or just of wine? An ounce of bourbon?
it's supposed to be
That's a
cocktail. So you don't do the straight spirits. Usually it's a cocktail
Okay.
at
Yeah.
the event. That is.
Yeah, but if you were
That
to
would
drink,
add up.
Diluted.
if you were to drink every wine there, you'd probably be drinking like 6 bottles of wine, just 1 ounce.
Wow.
Yeah.
So don't
So there's
don't
not
feel like
like,
you have to,
not like a checklist essentially when you're there, like,
right?
got
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
got
Don't
this.
have to knock it all off the list. Just pick one or
No
two
award
Just
for that.
enjoy.
favorites at tables. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: if you found out that somebody drinks white wine,
Mm.
never red wine,
Mhm.
what would be some of the characteristics that you would think would apply to that person?
Like,
It's like
Or you could do
What
it the
kind of
other
person
way.
is a
If
white-
they only drink red wine and they don't drink white wine.
there are. I think it's very specific on where you drink that. I think people who drink white wine may not always drink white wine, but not a lot of people want to have a big heavy cab when it's 90 degrees outside. So I think some people are smart enough to.
So you think
To
most
go to
people
something
do
else.
both?
I-
They drink red or white wine,
A
not
fair
only
bit.
one or the other.
Yeah, but there are. I mean, there's like stigmas. Like cougar juice is the first stigma that jumps to mind. I'm sorry.
Wait, what's cougar
It's-
juice? I've never heard this.
Cougar juice.
Cougar
is,
Pinot
juice is white wine?
Princess.
Cougar juice
Cougar
is
juice.
what you would call. It's how you refer to very very buttery Chardonnays, often
Oh,
from
nice.
Napa, because that's what cougars. Although when that term came out, those women probably aren't cougars anymore. They're grand cougars. This is going forward.
When
But
does
that's-
it- well, that's a good
I've
point.
never
At
heard
what
of cougar
age-
juice.
Oh,
Have you heard of
cougar
cougar
juice?
juice?
No,
No, you-
I mean, I've heard of cougars.
If you go to
Yeah.
any restaurateur or any like wine and just say, "Hey, can I get a glass of cougar juice?" They'll maybe
They know.
giggle, but they know exactly what it is you're looking for.
I love
That's
that.
a very
I
What
like-
age?
That might be what I like. Yeah. What
What
age are
age do
you?
you think a cougar
Are
is?
you? What is a cougar
Because
start?
the older I get, I
Well,
realize
it's like,
that
yeah,
age
that's-
has changed for me.
Well, I feel like that phrase is,
55, maybe.
but I feel that phrase has been around since the late '90s or the early
Yeah.
2000s. So at that point, cougars were probably
40.
50. I don't know. This
40?
Well, I mean, when I was
40?
younger, I would probably think like, yeah,
40-year-old's a cougar. Yeah, I think so too.
Well, here's what I here's
think
all right.
that's
Here's my
right.
analytics on it. So you're like, you could be 20 years old, and like your friend's mom could be 40, right
Right.
around there, and they could be a cougar.
It's the cougar
That's what I
theory
It's
of
the age
relativity.
Yeah, it's like-
difference,
yeah,
relative
not-
to wherever you are.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
I
the
can see
actual
that.
age itself.
But now it's probably like 55 is a cougar.
Well, millennials are aging very well. I keep reading that. So
Yeah.
the age of that could also compare.
Yeah.
Like a 50-year-old
Inflation.
30 years ago is
Yeah.
the equivalent of a 60-year-old.
Yeah,
now.
see,
Yeah.
whatever's the new
Can see
whatever.
that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yep. Let me see if I have anything else here for you.
I'm looking forward to listening to this later. And this podcast, it's going to be
Especially
like 20 solid minutes of Lindsay giving real important information.
And then Star Wars
And
We're
then
gonna hire
Star
Jen
Wars.
Cougar Juice.
Yeah.
And
I'm
what-
just
And briefcase.
hijacking everything.
And briefcase.
Well, yeah. Once you get your tattoo, we're gonna get a photo of that briefcase, and then we want you to send a picture of your tattoo so we can get that on here.
Yeah, maybe a video. I feel like
that would be great.
because if you've never had it before, I've never had one before. It seems like it would hurt.
How big are you going? You're probably going tiny.
Colorful, real colorful too.
I'm thinking 1 inch by 1 inch.
Can they go with you?
Yeah, we should. We might.
Actually, yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Ella, what are you doing Saturday?
My wife has the majority of the details. I actually am not.
You don't
super
even really know.
picky about it. I said I wanted black and white.
Yeah, yeah.
And not colors. We didn't talk about size, and now you're making me think I should have brought that up.
Well, this is permanently on your
Yeah.
body
That's true.
And you're a couple days away.
for the
here.
rest of your
well,
life.
well, I was
you're gonna
clear.
see
I don't
this.
want any face,
Right,
or
neck.
hands. But
Yeah.
neck. Yeah.
Now I guess
I'm nervous a little bit.
I
When
wasn't.
I see you, it's
I'm
gonna be
excited
like
for you.
So come out to Columbia Food and Wine and see Mike's new tattoo.
it's gonna be a beverage dinner.
And I guess what is the most difficult part to pull off the event? Like, what are things that you over the years have been like, man, this is
It's the I think keeping everything fresh and new because like I said, those signature events are brand new every single year, and we're in year 7. So keep continuing to grow the festival while also keeping all of those concepts new and fresh. It's a lot.
yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah, that's why I'm always like, we are open to suggestions.
Right.
Let's hear them all. But, and also too, not being a burden on our restaurant community, especially because they do put so much of themselves into this festival with us. And as we are asking them, hey, can you want to participate in this, and the grain tasting, you know,
Right.
it's back to that whole responsible growth and staying true to our
I just
roots.
still can't wrap my mind around organizing this. And I like when you first showed up, I thought there'd be 35 people that are behind the scenes doing this because just I'm guessing the police have to be involved, like the
Mhm.
fire, security, you know, there's bands, there's
Mhm.
liquor, there's restaurant, there's 75 like
And again, luckily, we've put the right people, I think, in those volunteer places.
To help,
You know,
yeah.
like Mike, like Ashley, like Kelly, and we all kind of have our roles, I think, now. And yes, you know, me and Kelly are kind of more pulling the strings of everybody. But I mean, I know people say this all the time, but I cannot say it enough and actually mean it, is that it is very much of a team effort.
Yeah, great. And then do you have like a big vision for this? Like say 10 years from now, what do you see this? Because it started as a one-day thing.
Uh-huh.
We're at 5.
Now we're at 5.
Does it turn into a month?
like
Does it-
Coachella.
No. I think the 5-day is a great range.
Sweet spot.
Yeah, but I would love to see the grain tasting expand out over multiple days. You know, you think of Charleston, their
Yeah.
culinary village, doing something. Maybe the grain tasting is kicks off on Friday night and is all day Saturday and Sunday,
Right.
something like that. And then of course I would love to still do our signature events that have these, you know, unique
Yeah.
concepts, but I still want to do more of, this year we're calling them our collaborative kitchens, which are our restaurant partners saying, hey, we want to do one and I'm going to invite this guy and this guy. These are 2 of my buddies and we're going to do this and run with it.
Yeah.
So just offering more of those to our restaurants to produce pretty much.
What are the size of the signature events? Like, is it fairly intimate? Like, will
They
the-
range. Yeah. It really
Nice.
depends on the setting, the concept. So this year, you know, our smallest, I would say, is our Mix, Mingle, and Glow event. And that's just 40
is that for
people.
singles?
No.
Oh,
I thought it was a
The
singles
Mix and
event.
Mingle is more of the cocktail, you know,
oh, gotcha.
part of it, where you're actually mixing a skin cocktail. They have a do-it-yourself facial bar, and then you're also going to be mixing your own seltzer garnish bar with Tito's as well.
Nice.
So it's kind of, you know, both right. But that one's only 40 people, 40 tickets max. But then
Gotcha.
our Bovinoche Butcher and Bourbon event is 150. And then you have the grain tasting, which if we count all of our partners, all of our volunteers and ticket holders, I mean, we're getting close to probably about 4,000, I would think, on Sunday alone. So, you know, it all ranges. And again, the signatures change every year. So
Do you get, well, like, I guess is this different than a normal restaurant experience? Like, will people get to
Yes.
meet the chef or maybe
Yes.
like come out and talk about the food, or how does that?
It's different from, first and foremost, is we always encourage collaboration. While, I love our restaurant partners, I can go to a dinner there and have an amazing experience every day. A food and wine event will not just have that restaurant and that chef, it will have at least 2 other outside talents coming in to collaborate. So it's a once in a lifetime. I mean, you don't see these collaborations really anywhere else. And then also too, there's usually an educational component, or we want there to be an educational component to every one of our events. Whether that's Mike telling you more about the wine side of things, whether that is, like I said, Tito's doing a mixer and seltzer, kind of talking through how to mix a cocktail. Or, I mean, last year, goodness, we did, or 2 years ago, we did a sushi and sake pairing, and we had a sake som. Didn't even know there was such a thing. Come down from New York, and actually,
Well, I think Florida may. I don't know, but yeah.
Some-
from Miami down from New York.
From the
yeah.
US.
It was great.
Come in and actually do a sake tutorial and pairing with sushi. So, we want you to enjoy, eat, drink, and have an absolute blast, but we want you to also have a little bit of an educational component, whether that's food or beverage or community, to take with you as well.
Nice.
Cool.
And then my last question was like, has there been any, like in your creative meetings? Well, do you have like a big brainstorm with like a whiteboard and a pot of coffee and people just throw out ideas meeting?
Forget coffee. We should do that over wine. I mean,
Or wine, yeah.
no, but
Mushrooms.
The best ideas. There it is.
we will always do a recap where we sit and we talk about, hey, we liked this. Oh, we think we can tweak this a little bit. Hey, I had this great idea, or somebody came up with this. Then we kind of mull it over, give us a little bit of a break, a couple of months. And then, by the end of summer, usually we're already sitting there and planning the lineup for the next year. So it's,
Like, has anybody come up with something just wild? Like, we need to be on the rooftop of the Capitol building, and
we have wanted to do a rooftop happy hour bar hop down Main Street.
That'd be awesome.
So if the Capitol building is
I don't even
willing,
know if they
we're
have-
in. But it's more of we come up with concepts and ideas, and then we take it and we say, okay,
what?
how can we
venue?
make this work?
Yeah.
In Columbia or in Lexington or in the Northeast or in 5 Points, wherever. And what partners do we have there that can maybe help us recruit and like lead the efforts? So it's multiple tiers, I would say, but it does start out as a big brainstorm session. And a lot of our partners too go to a lot of different festivals and events throughout, and come up with ideas there too. And like I said, we have an ongoing list from our talent as well, who is, just creative, is way more creative than I ever will be. And that they come up with something and then they let us run with it. So it's a whole lot of pieces coming together, but it's always fun to brainstorm.
We need more stuff out here in the Northeast. We have Javier at Ratio, which we love.
We love Chef Javi. Yeah.
Oh.
He, the Northeast actually hosted our kickoff dinner 2 years ago.
Really?
It was a collaboration between Ratio, it was Grillo
Bodhisattva.
at Boca Grande, and Alex Strickland when he was still at Black Rooster. He's now at Dragon Room. But they actually did our kickoff at Ratio 2 years ago.
Wow.
But we would love to do more things out
I know,
here.
there's just-
You got any ideas?
Well, that's the thing. We just need more restaurants out here. We need
Yeah.
more local restaurants out here. It's a lot of corporate stuff.
And that's one of the goals of food and wine festivals, uplifting, especially again, that local, these local small business owners,
Yeah.
and giving them that platform to, recruit more, hopefully. And I mean, Mike, I think you can talk a lot more about the hospitality industry because you're in it so much, but we want to celebrate them and shine a light on everything that has grown here in Columbia over the last 7 years, and hopefully bring more in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think the Columbia food scene is getting much better,
Very much.
progressively better.
We are
I've been
on the
here for
rise.
5.5 years, and it's
Yeah.
gotten way better over time.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
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 Nice.
We all want
Is
that.
there anything else you guys want the audience to know or hear about the Food and Wine Festival?
Really just know that get your ticket.
Yep.
Be sure to follow us on social media, because I feel like that's really where you see a lot more of the spotlight on our talents. all the many talents and partners that make this happen. We do feature them a lot on our Instagram and Facebook, which is Columbia Food and Wine. But really just come out, experience it for yourself. Again, try a new event. Don't just do the grain tasting, even though that is the biggest and the big finale of the week, and I can't recommend it enough. But and remember that all of this is in support of our community. So the more you support this festival, the more that we're able to give back, and the more we are able to spotlight them, and then hopefully grow. So we appreciate everybody who does come out, and just hope that they have fun and learn something new.
Yeah, I think
Good.
I think of my one thing, it's kind of what you were just telling there at the end, but she mentioned that the chefs of the restaurants do get a stipend, but just to be clear, that doesn't even come close to cover what they're doing. And so it's a huge commitment. And also in the restaurant industry, Sunday for most restaurants is either the day they're closed, it's their one day off, or they're a place that really leans into brunch. And by being here, they're spreading thin or missing out on a huge day for them. So it's a big strain on everybody involved. And so my one thing would be, please come to the grand tasting, have a good time. But if there's if you taste Javi's food, actually go to Ratio. Make that a goal. In the next month, we're going to go eat at our top 3 favorite places. So they really get to, pay some of it back, other than just, that was good, and forget till next year.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of ranking system or voting system afterwards too, where people could see like the top 10 or 20?
There's not, but if there is something maybe that, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this one dish from this one place, but I can't remember what it is, reach out to us. We will find out who it is. We will say, this is their address. These are their hours. Go.
That'd be cool.
And same thing with the wine, same thing with the breweries. We actually are, you can purchase the wine that you're tasting
right
there
there
at the festival. You have to pick it up later, but you can actually purchase it if you like something then and there. Cool. Local breweries, obviously, we have our brewery scene here is same thing, and same thing supporting them because they're having staff out there and doing samples of all their products.
Nice.
So, it's the support.
And I guess you guys mentioned everything's all inclusive, but they should still bring cash or credit cards to.
Everything will be anything for purchase. Again, it's just the wine, and you can do it all on your phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Great.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for
thanks,
being on the show.
Good. Hope to see y'all out there.
Here
We're here for the health of it.
for the health of it.